cannot do this. I cannot make this live stream a long one. So, welcome to another live stream. Today I'm going to do a review on Resident Evil 4 Remake game. So, if you remember, for live stream day 22, I did a live stream with the topic, does Resident Evil 4 Remake deserve to win Game of the Year? And on that live stream, I said that it deserves to be part of the nominations, but I don't think it deserves to win, especially since we are now currently at the start of the year and we have a long way where we will reach the Game of the Year awards. So there are probably going to be other games that are probably going to be a lot better than Hogwarts Legacy or even Resident Evil 4. So this live stream is going to be a little bit of an extended version of my review about the game. Well, as you know, I don't, I am not, I didn't own the game. I don't own the game, so my experience is from watching content creators playing the game and having a couple of feedbacks from them as well. So take my take. Uh, that's that's a mouthful. So take my opinion as a grain of salt. Don't take it as a whole. So yeah, where do I start? So I think this story in the remake does not really change a lot from the original version. I think I kind of dislike that they changed the dynamic between Leon and Ada because back then it was a little bit more romanticized, but right now it's not anymore. Like the relationship between these two have been drastically changed from what happened in Resident Evil 2 because in Resident Evil 2 well, I mean there is like a little hint of a romance relationship between the two, especially after Ada kissed Leon, even though that was for her own gain. But still, there's a little bit of romantic drama between the two of them, but that is non-existent in Resident Evil 4 Remake. It was still existent in Resident Evil 4, the original one, and it was still continuing even on like Resident Evil 5 and maybe 6, I can't remember. But it was literally non-existent in Resident Evil 4 Remake. And the fact that they changed the character of Ada into this kind of person who are like she does not care about Leon anymore in a romantic way, but for some reason she still kind of like saves Leon in multiple occasions, but she's not flirty anymore. I think that's the thing with with this new characteristic. She's not flirty with Leon anymore, and I'm not sure if that's a good decision or not, because that was part of the charm with Ada Wong. She was this flirty character, but also a badass. I mean, she was literally going into the war zone wearing a dress, which is something that's not suitable for going into a battlefield. But she does not care. That's her character. But in the remake, her clothing is more like a mercenary. It's more for made for combat, and I hope it does not ruin her character. But I think her character has already been ruined in Resident Evil 4 remake. Back then, in the original one, um, the relationship between Leon and Ada is the one that's more fleshed out. But in the remake, you barely see any dynamic uh, combination between the two. We actually got more screen time between Ashley and Leon, which was really surprising because in in Resident Evil 4, the original version, Ashley was kind of like a weight. Actually, she was like the thing that slowed down your playthrough. Every time you're trying to move forward, Ashley was like, Leon, help me. She was kind of like this annoying NPC following you around, and you're like, gosh, why do I have to defend this thing called daughter of the president? You know. But in the remake, these two have become like this dynamic duo that's really really fun to look at. Ashley is not someone that relies on Leon. She actually she was actually really really helpful in the story. There are a couple of times when Leon actually the one that's like, Leon, why are you doing this? Like Ashley is the one that gets him out of the trouble, and I think I like that change of her on her character. But another thing that I don't like about the remake is that they changed the death of Louis Serra. Instead of getting killed by Lord Sadler, he actually gets killed by Krauser. I mean, it's a little bit more um, realistic. The remake is actually by Krauser where but I mean, I kind of get the realism instead of having Sadler kill Leon. I'm sorry, kill Louis Serra, because in the original version, Leon was in the same room with Lucera and Sadler, but Sadler only decides to kill Louis, which in reality doesn't make any sense. Why you only kill Lucera? Why don't you kill Leon? That doesn't make any sense. So in the remake, it actually makes a lot more sense. Don't like, even though it's realistic, but I still don't like it. So boss battles. Boss battles was especially the final boss battle, because back then there was in the remake you see this big amalgamation of the Las Plagas with Lord Sadler with that big eye or like big sphere in the middle with like ginormous tentacles swirling around the precinct. Like it was it was a really really great, visually it was really great. But fighting it, dude, from the content that I saw, oh my god, it was a nightmare. If you don't have a rocket launcher, it was a nightmare. And I like that they kept the white dog. I don't know if it was a dog or a wolf, but I kind of like that they kept that. Some people, before the game launched, in the gameplay trailer, they saw this dog who's dead in the bear trap, and they thought it was the dog that you could save in the original game, but turns out it was a different dog. So the players are like, I mean, in the remake, especially when you and Louis Sarah fighting the two ogres. In the end, you Sarah helps you by throwing the stack of dynamite into the back of the armored troll. I can't remember if it was a troll or an ogre in the game. And you can actually skip that that section of the boss battle if you beat the bosses as soon as possible. And I think it was really fun. You can find some of the clips on YouTube. There are a couple of channels who uploaded these hidden details into of the game into the YouTube. In the remake, the fish one, when you shoot the lake in the original, the fish, like the ginormous fish, just leaps into the player and kills them. But in the remake, it changed into a cutscene, and I don't like it at all. I prefer when it was abrupt in the original rather than changing the perspective into a cutscene. It doesn't seem seamless. So that's another thing that I don't like. So far there has been three things: the fish, Louis Serra's death, and Ada Wong's change of character. Map design, it doesn't really change a lot from the original game, and it actually felt, I don't know if it felt big, but to me it felt really really big, because I think because we are used to Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake where the map are like it circles back to where you started on multiple occasions. So having Resident Evil 4 remake um, where the story progresses throughout multiple places, like you will start in the village and then you go to the castle and then you go to the other island. Like I think it's a breath of a fresh air from what you got in Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, which essentially just the same game. What else did I want to talk about? There was another thing, but I kind of forgot what it was. Oh yeah, Ella Freya. She's gorgeous. I think she's a great casting for the face model of Ashley. Like they made the great choice by having Ella Freya as her face model because they try to make Ashley not annoying anymore. In the first game, I'm sorry, in the original one, they are trying to make her face as annoying as possible. I remember because her character was actually really annoying. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of players want to Ashley because she was a bothersome in their playthrough, but in the remake, she's actually really, really helpful in a lot of moments. So having her to be designed as a beautiful girl, I mean that's actually a plus point for her characteristic. So that's actually another thing that I like. And I still don't like the fact that Leon was still doesn't see Ashley's flirting. You know, when every single time when Ashley flirts in the original game, the players, Leon always like, um, how do you say it in English? Every time Ashley flirts with Leon in the original game, Leon was like, "Yeah, I don't care." He's always thinking straight. He does not think uh, Ashley in a romantic way. And the players also think the same way because Ashley was an annoying character. But in the remake, when they're trying to make Ashley as a gorgeous character, seeing Leon frantically, because like, dude, you have a beautiful president's daughter in front of you, and you're still chasing the Asian woman. I mean, it was if the scenario was back then in the Resident Evil 4, the original one, it makes sense. But if you're seeing it in the remake, it doesn't make any sense. If you don't want to get Ashley and Ada Wong does not want you anymore, at least get Claire. You know, Chris has been wanting to Leon to continue the Redfield. It's a really funny meme in the Resident Evil community that Chris has been trying to continue the generation of Redfield. He even tries to like insist um, Leon to marry Claire, but Leon was like, "Nah, bro, Asian girl's the best." I think that was a really really funny narrative in the community as a whole. So yeah, I don't know where the story is going if Ada does not have a romantic um, point of view towards Leon, then where the story goes. Because I'm pretty sure they are going to remake Resident Evil 5, even though I still don't think Resident Evil 5 needs a remake, but whatever. As long as they don't remake Resident Evil 6, I think we're good. But the problem is that they kind of change the characteristic of some of the characters in the remake. So it does not make any sense if Resident Evil 6 does not get a remake. I'm against the idea of Resident Evil 6 gets a remake, but Ada Wong's character in Resident Evil 6 is the same character that was present in the original Resident Evil 4 and the same one that was in Resident Evil 2 remake. So having her character change in Resident Evil 4, it's actually changed the possible future of the franchise because her character now would contrast or contradicts in Resident Evil 6. So yeah, I hope um, I'm really hoping that Ada Wong's character will not be changed as much if they ever try to continue the remakes of the Resident Evil games. And there was actually going to be a movie coming out later this year, the Biohazard movie. It's Resident Evil and it combines all of the main characters of the Resident Evil series from 0 to 4 because it has Rebecca, Chris, Claire, Leon, and Jill. What's it? Biohazard. Death Island. There you go. Resident Evil Death Island or Biohazard Death Island is going to be released this year on July 7th, but it's only going to be released in Japan. There has been no confirmation if it's going to be released worldwide as well. But um, it's still not confirmed, but I think the movie will take place after Resident Evil 5. Maybe. I'm not sure. But I think it's going to be set in after Resident Evil 5. So, who knows? Maybe we're not even getting a Resident Evil 5 remake. But I don't think we need Resident Evil 5 remake. So, what I'm hoping right now is that Capcom will release this Separate Ways DLC for Resident Evil 4 remake. Well, I mean, for the people who own the original one in the PS2, Separate Ways was a free expansion. But since the game was originally released in the GameCube, it did not have the Separate Ways um, campaign mode. So I think if they want to make it a paid DLC in the remake, I don't have problem with it. But if they don't want to make it a paid DLC and give it for free, I have no problem with it as well. But my hopes is if they ever try to actually release a Separate Ways DLC, they need to reconsider some stuff. First of all, backlash with Ada Wong's character. Not a lot of people really realize Separate Ways try to work their way to make it a lot more closer, a lot closer to the ones that we got in Resident Evil 2 remake or in the Resident Evil 4 original one. Because not a lot of people enjoy Edo's character in the remake. So I think it would be a safe bet if they resort back to her original character if they ever try to give us the Separate Ways DLC. And I think that could work if that's where they're going with. If they're going to release Separate Ways that with rewriting Ada Wong's character back to her original characteristic, then we could definitely see a possible Resident Evil 5 remake, and it was still, and the narrative and the storyline and the timeline would still be linear towards Resident Evil 6, 7, and 8. At least that's my opinion. You can take this as a grain of salt because I have not been a Resident Evil fans for a long time. It's like, oh, this game is good. And then when they played, by they I mean these little two people, a brother and a daughter, brothers, they're brothers. So when they played Resident Evil 2 remake, I was like, oh, this series is actually really good. And then they continued to Resident Evil 3 and then Resident Evil 8, and I was like really into the franchise. So I'm not a die-hard Resident Evil fan, so take my opinion as grain of salt. So there you have it. That's my review on Resident Evil 4 remake. My opinion still stands that it does not deserve Game of the Year yet, but definitely deserve to be one of the nominations. And there are a couple of stuff that I don't like, such as Ada Wong's characterization. If they rewrite her character back to her original state in the Separate Ways DLC, I think it could save the it could save Capcom from getting more backlash. If they kept her characters the same in Separate Ways DLC, then probably not a lot of people. So I think I'm going to cook something. If you have anything left. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Defaja, and I'm signing out. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Raw.